Hey everyone, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Before we dive into today's chilling new series, a mix of nuclear war and alien invasion, I just want to take a moment to thank you all for your incredible support. Your engagement means the world to me, and it's what keeps me creating these stories. If you'd like to support my work during this festive season, you can do so through YouTube's Super Thanks or by becoming a patron. But honestly, just watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing is more than enough to help me keep bringing these chilling narratives to life. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Wishing you all a joyful Christmas and an amazing new year ahead. This is Matthew Grayson, broadcasting from station WN88, somewhere in the shadows of a broken world. To those of you still tuning in, I need you to listen carefully. What I'm about to tell you isn't easy. It isn't comforting, but it's the truth of how we got here, to the edge of extinction. The nuclear war has begun, and if you're hearing my voice, congratulations, I suppose. You've survived what billions couldn't. You know, we always thought the end would come suddenly. An asteroid, an alien invasion, or some kind of biblical reckoning. But no, this ending, it crept up on us like a shadow, growing darker and darker until it consumed everything. It started with the whispers, territorial disputes, trade embargoes, power plays behind closed doors. Nothing new, right? The same old theater of politics and greed. But this time, the stakes were higher. This time, someone decided they'd had enough of playing games. You might remember the rumors, those late-night news segments about secret military buildups, cyber attacks on power grids, and those damn cryptic speeches from world leaders. The kind that made you wonder if they knew something we didn't. Turns out they did. Turns out they were preparing for a storm they couldn't control. And then it happened. The tipping point. I don't know exactly who fired first. Maybe no one does. Maybe it doesn't matter anymore. But what I do know is that two thriving, living, breathing cities, were reduced to ash in an instant. Gone just like that. I'll never forget the reports coming in. They described it as a flash brighter than the sun. Imagine that for a second. Brighter than the sun. People in those cities didn't even have time to scream. They just disappeared. Those further out were the unlucky ones. They got to see it coming. The fire, the heat, the walls of their homes melting around them. Imagine standing there, knowing you're about to die, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. And the fallout was the real horror. The lucky ones died quickly. The rest, they're still out there, walking shadows of who they used to be. Skin burned, hair falling out, bodies riddled with radiation sickness. They don't even look human anymore. And the air, it's thick now, heavy with ash and poison. Every breath feels like swallowing a piece of death itself. That's what those bombs gave us. Not just death, but a slow, creeping extinction. You've noticed it, haven't you? The sky, it's not the same. Those bombs, they didn't just destroy cities. They tore a hole in the atmosphere, spewing so much ash and debris into the air that the sun itself has all but disappeared. We're living in a nuclear winter now. The days are gray, the nights colder than you can imagine, and the crops, well, good luck finding anything that isn't wilted or poisoned. We're starving out here, all of us. And the worst part, this isn't even the peak of it. Scientists, what few are left, say the real effects haven't even hit us yet. Think about that. But it's not just the bombs that are killing us, is it? No, we're doing that ourselves. Humanity has always been its own worst enemy, and now we're just proving it. People are fighting over scraps of food, water, and shelter. Entire neighborhoods turning on each other. Families falling apart. I heard about a group of people tearing each other to pieces over a loaf of bread. A loaf of bread, can you believe that? And don't even get me started on the looters, the warlords, the monsters. They're not like the rest of us anymore. They've given up on being human. It's not just us either. The earth itself seems to be rebelling. Earthquakes, floods, storms, they're getting worse. Some people say it's the bombs that caused it, the shock waves tearing through the planet's crust. Others think it's punishment, divine or otherwise. I think it's just the natural world reacting to the mess we've made of it. Either way, it doesn't really matter. The result is the same, chaos, everywhere. And the fires, they're still burning. Entire cities are just gone, replaced by smoldering wastelands. The air smells like burnt flesh and metal, and it doesn't go away. It's always there, that smell, reminding you of what we've done. You know, we were warned about this. For decades, people tried to tell us. Scientists, activists, hell, even some of the politicians. They said it was only a matter of time before someone pushed the button. But we didn't listen. We never do. And now look at us. Look at what we've become. A broken species on a dying planet. So what happens now? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Or maybe it's worthless now, just like everything else. I'll tell you this much. There's no going back. The world we knew is gone. It's not coming back. We're living in the ashes of our own creation, and all we can do is try to survive for as long as we can. But let's be honest, we're running out of time. This is the beginning of the end, my friends. If you're listening to this, if you're still alive, hold on to that. Hold on to life, because it's the only thing we've got left. And maybe, just maybe, it'll be enough to get us through what's coming next. Because believe me, it's gonna get worse. This is Matthew Grayson, your voice in the darkness, broadcasting live, or what's left of live, from station WN88. If you're still tuning in, you're one of the few who've managed to survive this far. I don't know if that's something to celebrate or mourn, but I'll keep talking because someone needs to. Someone needs to tell the truth. Today we're diving into the aftermath, the global fallout from what they're calling the Great Unmaking. Let me paint a picture for you listeners. The bombs fell, and for a moment there was silence, a deafening, oppressive silence that blanketed the entire planet. No birds chirping, no traffic sounds, no human voices, just the crackle of fire and the low groan of collapsing cities. That silence was worse than the blasts themselves. It was the sound of a world holding its breath, waiting to see if there would be anything left to breathe for. That silence didn't last long, though. Soon enough, it was replaced by chaos. Screams, sirens, the sound of looters smashing windows and soldiers barking orders. But beneath all of that, there was something else, something primal. The sound of humanity breaking. It's a sound you don't forget, and trust me, you don't want to hear it. You'd think the destruction of two cities would be contained to just that, two isolated tragedies. But no, the fallout wasn't just radioactive. It was economic, political, and societal. Those bombs set off a chain reaction that toppled the fragile house of cards we were all living in. Supply chains collapsed overnight. Entire industries vanished. Banks shut their doors, and with them went the life savings of millions. Money became meaningless. Food and water became the new currency. And if you didn't have enough, well, you can imagine what happened next. Internationally, it was even worse. Alliances shattered like glass. Countries that had sworn to protect each other turned on one another, desperate to save themselves. Trade routes were cut off, borders were closed, and what was left of global diplomacy dissolved into thin air. It was every nation for itself, and when nations act in self-interest, the people always pay the price. Now, let's talk about the fallout in the most literal sense. The radioactive ash that's blanketed entire continents. Scientists, what few remain, call it a nuclear winter. The mushroom clouds may have dissipated, but their legacy lingers in the air we breathe and the water we drink. Crops are failing. The livestock that weren't incinerated are dying from radiation poisoning. And the rivers, they're tainted, black, thick, and reeking of death. The skies are another story. Remember when you could look up and see stars? Yeah, me neither. The ash has blocked out the sun, leaving us in a perpetual gray twilight. Day and night have become meaningless. It's cold now, colder than it should be, even for this time of year. Frost is killing what little plant life remains. I can't remember the last time I felt warmth on my skin, and I doubt I ever will again. If you think the countryside is bad, let me tell you about the cities, or what's left of them. The 2 cities that were bombed, Ground Zero, they're just gone, erased from existence. But the others, they're still standing, technically. Empty shells filled with the echoes of what used to be. Buildings leaning at unnatural angles, streets littered with abandoned cars and bodies. And the smell, it's a mix of decay, smoke, and something chemical, something wrong. You can't escape it. But the worst part isn't the destruction. It's the people, or rather the lack of them. Those who could flee have fled, turning highways into rivers of desperation. Those who couldn't, well, they're either dead or worse. The survivors are different now, hollow-haunted. Some have formed gangs, preying on the weak. Others wander aimlessly, too broken to fight for what's left. It's like the cities themselves have become graveyards for the living. You know what's strange, though? As horrifying as all of this is, it's not the destruction that scares me the most. It's the unknown, the things we can't see or understand yet. Because if there's one thing history has taught us, it's that the worst is always yet to come. There are rumors, whispers of strange phenomena since the bombs fell. Lights in the sky that aren't stars or planes, unexplained tremors deep underground, and the animals, the ones that are still alive anyway, they're acting different. I can't explain it, but it's like they know something we don't. Like they're scared of something we haven't seen yet. So here we are, a world in ruins ruled by new laws. The laws of survival. Forget your old morals, your old beliefs. They don't matter anymore. Now, it's about who has the most food, the most water, the most bullets. Trust is a luxury we can't afford. Compassion? That'll get you killed. The only rule that matters now is this: survive, no matter what it takes. I know that's hard to hear. Hell, it's hard to say, but it's the truth. And if you're still listening, if you're still out there, then you've already proven you've got what it takes to make it this far. Don't let that go to waste. Keep fighting, keep surviving, because this fallout, it's not just physical. It's mental, emotional, spiritual. It's a test, and the only way to pass is to keep moving forward, no matter how dark the path gets. Now I know what you're thinking. Is there any hope? Can we come back from this? Honestly, I don't know. I wish I could tell you yes, but that would be a lie. What I can tell you is this: we're still here. You and me, and whoever else is out there listening. As long as we're breathing, there's a chance, no matter how small. And sometimes, a chance is all you need. So hold on to that, my friends. Hold on to whatever keeps you going. Because this fallout, it's not the end. Not yet. And as long as I have a voice, as long as I have this station, I'll be here. Talking. Surviving, just like you. This is Matthew Grayson, signing off for now. Stay safe out there, and remember, the fallout may have taken our world, but it hasn't taken our will to fight. Not yet. This is Matthew Grayson, coming to you from what might just be the last standing radio station in this burning world. If you're out there, if you can still hear me, you're witnessing history. The kind of history that'll never be written down because there won't be anyone left to read it. Today, we're diving headfirst into the chaos. I know it's a lot to take in, but someone has to tell the truth about what's happening. So buckle up, survivors. Let me show you what's left of this planet we once called home. You'd think, after the bombs, that people would come together, that we'd hold hands, cry together, and rebuild. Yeah, no, that's not how humans work when the chips are down. When the lights go out, when the food runs out, when the rules stop mattering, people turn into something else, something darker. In the first few days, there was panic. Everyone rushing to supermarkets, grabbing whatever they could carry. Fistfights over loaves of bread, shootouts in parking lots over bottles of water. You can't imagine the madness until you've seen it. And trust me, you don't want to. But it didn't stop there. That was just the beginning. The cities, what's left of them, are war zones now. Not wars between nations, but wars between neighbors. You've got gangs running the streets, claiming entire blocks as their territories. You've got militias setting up checkpoints, deciding who lives and who doesn't, based on God knows what. And then you've got the rest of us, people like you and me, caught in the middle, just trying to survive. Let me tell you about the new economy, folks. It's not about dollars or euros or yen anymore. It's about food, water, and medicine. Those are the new currencies. And the price? It's blood, plain and simple. The government, what's left of it, tried to set up distribution centers. Nice idea, right? But it didn't take long for those to turn into battlegrounds. Desperate people don't wait in lines. They take what they need, and they don't care who gets hurt in the process. I heard about one distribution center in Chicago. It started as a peaceful line of people waiting for rations. By the end of the day, it was a smoldering ruin, and the National Guard had pulled out. Too dangerous, they said. Too dangerous to help their own people. Out in the countryside, it's not much better. Farmers are armed to the teeth, guarding their crops from looters. But even they're running out of time. The soil's contaminated in a lot of places, and the radiation's killing off the livestock. If you've got food, you're a target. If you don't, you're a thief. It's that simple. And then there are the refugees, the ones who left their homes behind hoping to find something, anything better. Highways are clogged with cars, abandoned when the fuel ran out. People are walking now, entire families dragging what little they could carry. Some of them don't even know where they're going. They're just moving, because stopping feels like giving up. I've seen them, you know. From the roof of this station, I can see the roads stretching out into the horizon, filled with people. They look like ants from up here, tiny and insignificant. But when you see them up close, you see the fear in their eyes, the exhaustion, the hopelessness. It's enough to break you. And it's not just here, it's everywhere. Reports are coming in from Europe, Asia, Africa. It's the same story. Borders are closed, but that doesn't stop the desperate. They're crossing rivers, climbing mountains, walking through deserts, all for the slim chance of finding safety. Most of them won't make it. With the old governments crumbling, a new kind of leader has emerged. Warlords, gang leaders, self-proclaimed kings and queens. They're the ones in charge now. They don't care about democracy or human rights or any of the things we used to hold dear. They care about power, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to keep it. I heard about one guy in New York, calls himself the Iron Fist. Real subtle, huh? He's got an army of thugs patrolling the streets, enforcing his rules. If you disobey, you disappear. Simple as that. Out west, there's a group called the Black Sun. They've taken over an old military base and are stockpiling weapons. Rumor has it they're planning to march east, taking what they want along the way. And those are just the ones we know about. But it's not just the leaders who've changed. It's all of us. I've seen things I can't unsee. People doing whatever it takes to survive. Things they never would have dreamed of doing before the bombs fell. Mothers abandoning their children. Friends turning on each other. Neighbors killing neighbors. It's like the worst parts of humanity have been brought to the surface, and there's no going back. But you know what scares me the most? It's not the violence or the desperation. It's the apathy, the way people walk past the dying without even looking. The way they step over the bodies like they're just obstacles in their path. We're losing more than our lives out here. We're losing our humanity. And let's not forget about the Earth, our beautiful blue planet, the one we took for granted. She's dying too. The nuclear winter has thrown the climate into chaos. Crops are failing, rivers are drying up, and the oceans are, well, they're not the same. I've heard reports of dead zones spreading across the seas, places where nothing can live. Even the fish are abandoning us. I used to love the sound of rain, you know? Now it's a death sentence. The fallout's in the water, poisoning everything it touches. And the wind, it carries the ash, spreading it to places that were supposed to be safe. There's nowhere left to run. So here we are, listeners. Planet in chaos, a world on the brink. If you're still listening, if you're still out there, you're one of the lucky ones. Or maybe you're not. Maybe surviving this long is its own kind of curse. I don't know anymore. What I do know is this: we're running out of time. Not just as individuals, but as a species. The old world is gone, and the new one, well, I don't think we're gonna like it. But we don't have a choice, do we? All we can do is keep moving forward, one step at a time, one breath at a time. Because if we stop, if we give up, then the chaos wins. And I can't let that happen. Not yet. This is Matthew Grayson, signing off for now. Stay safe out there. And remember, even in the chaos, even in the darkness, you're not alone. Not as long as this signal is still alive. This is Matthew Grayson, your voice in the void, coming to you live, or at least as alive as one can be these days. The bombs might have stopped falling, but the damage they've done, that's only just beginning to show. The air is still thick with ash, the ground trembling with aftershocks, and the skies, well, let's just say you don't look up unless you want a reason to cry. But today, survivors, I want to talk about something else. Something darker, something quieter. The unseen effects of this new world we've been thrust into. The things you don't notice until they're right in front of you, or worse, inside of you. Let's start with the one we all saw coming, radiation. You'd think the firestorms and shockwaves were bad enough, but no. It's the invisible stuff that's going to get us in the end. The fallout, it's everywhere, settling into the soil, seeping into the water, hanging in the air like a ghost we can't escape. You can't see it, you can't smell it, but it's there tearing us apart molecule by molecule. I've heard stories, people waking up with burns on their skin, even though they were nowhere near the blasts, hair falling out in clumps, teeth loosening in their gums, and then there's the sickness. The slow, creeping sickness. Vomiting, bleeding, fatigue so deep it feels like your bones are dissolving. I'm no doctor, but I've read enough to know how this ends. It's not quick, it's not painless, it's hell, plain and simple. The thing is, it's not just us. The entire world is contaminated now. Crops are withering in the fields. Animals are dying in droves, their bodies bloated and twisted into shapes that shouldn't exist. And the water, do you know what it's like to look at a river and know you can't drink from it? To see the rain falling and know it's poison. People are desperate though. They're drinking it anyway. They don't have a choice. And the kids are the ones who suffer the most. Their little bodies can't handle it. They're the first to go. I saw a family once. They'd been walking for days, maybe weeks, looking for clean water. When they found some, they didn't even hesitate. They drank it, bathed in it, laughed like they'd found salvation. A week later, I passed by the same spot. They were still there, only this time, they weren't moving. That's the world we live in now. But it's not just the body that's breaking, it's the mind. You can only see so much death, so much destruction, before something inside you snaps. Before you stop feeling altogether. I've heard it in the voices of the people I talk to on this frequency. The way they pause before they answer, the way their words stumble like they've forgotten how to speak. Some of them, they don't even sound human anymore. It's like the soul's been stripped out of them, leaving behind something hollow, something broken. And then there's the paranoia, the distrust. People turning on each other over the smallest things, a can of beans, a bottle of water, a warm coat. Friendships don't mean anything anymore. Family doesn't mean anything. It's every man for himself. And that kind of loneliness, it eats at you. It makes you question why you're even trying to survive in the first place. I've talked about the radiation, about how it's killing us. But what I haven't mentioned is how it's changing things. The animals, the plants, hell, even the weather. I've seen things out there, survivors. Things that don't make sense. Trees with blackened bark, oozing sap that glows faintly in the dark. Birds with too many wings, flying in erratic, impossible patterns. And the insects, swarms of them, larger than they should be, their bodies twisted and grotesque. They're not afraid of us anymore. If anything, we're the ones running from them. And then there are the rumors, people whispering about creatures in the shadows, things that shouldn't exist. I don't know if they're real or just the product of shattered minds, but either way, it's terrifying. Because if the earth itself is turning against us, what hope do we have? Here's the part that scares me the most. It's not the radiation or the poisoned water or the mutated animals. It's us, what we're becoming. I've seen people do things I wouldn't have thought possible. Cannibalism, ritual sacrifices, acts of violence so brutal, so senseless, they make the bombs seem almost merciful. It's like the world's gone mad and we're all just animals now. No, scratch that. Animals have rules. They have order. This is something else entirely. And it's not just the big things, it's the little things too. The way people avoid eye contact, the way they refuse to help a stranger, the way they hold on to what little they have with a grip so tight, it's like their lives depend on it. Because maybe they do. Maybe this is who we've always been deep down. Maybe the world was just too comfortable before to let it show. So here we are, survivors, a world unraveling at the seams, a planet choking on its own poison, a species tearing itself apart from the inside out. And the worst part, this is just the beginning. The real fallout hasn't even hit us yet. The bombs were just the match. Now we're watching the fire spread, and there's no one left to put it out. I wish I had answers for you. I wish I could tell you how to fix this, how to survive it, but I don't know. All I can do is keep talking, keep broadcasting, keep reminding you that you're not alone, even if it feels like it. Because in the end, that's all we have left, each other. This is Matthew Grayson, signing off for now. Stay safe, survivors, and remember, even in the unseen, even in the darkness, there's always a spark of hope. You just have to find it. This is Matthew Grayson, your voice in the static, still here, still watching, and still broadcasting. Today, I need to tell you about something strange. Something that's been gnawing at the edges of my mind, like a rat in the walls. Survivors were not alone. No, I'm not talking about the roaming scavengers or the wild animals turned monstrous by the fallout. I mean something else, something silent, something out there watching us. Observing, studying. It's like the earth itself has eyes, but they aren't hers. Let me explain. You've seen it, haven't you? The sky isn't what it used to be. It's not just the nuclear winter. The ashen clouds that blot out the sun, or the blood-red sunsets that look more like a wound than a blessing. No, there's something else. At night, if you're lucky enough to catch a clear patch, you might notice the stars aren't where they're supposed to be. Or maybe you'll see one that's too bright, too steady, like it doesn't belong. I've been tracking it, one light in particular. It started faint, almost unnoticeable, like a grain of sand in the vast ocean of the night sky. Now it's brighter, closer. It doesn't flicker, doesn't move with the rotation of the earth. It just sits there watching, and it's not just me. I've had survivors calling in, those who still have radios that work, telling me the same thing. There's something up there, Matthew, they say. Something that doesn't feel right. Then there's the sound, or lack of it. I've noticed that some nights the world gets too quiet. Not just the absence of people, but no wind, no insects, no animals. It's like the earth is holding its breath. But if you listen closely, if you really pay attention, you might hear something else. A hum faint and distant, like the reverberation of a tuning fork. It's not natural. It's not human. I don't know what it is, but I've recorded it, played it back over and over, trying to make sense of it. It's almost like a signal, but it doesn't match any frequency I've ever encountered. It's there, though. Persistent, insistent, and it's getting louder. Then there are the shadows. Survivors, have you noticed them? Out in the wasteland, they move differently now. I've seen them stretching out longer than they should, shifting angles when the light hasn't moved. And sometimes they don't seem connected to anything at all. I was traveling between broadcast sites last week, had to relocate after a group of looters got too close. It was late, and the moonlight was barely strong enough to light my path. That's when I saw it, a shadow, long and spindly, stretching across the cracked earth. At first, I thought it was mine, but then I realized it was moving in the wrong direction, against the wind, against the light. I froze, and for a moment it froze too, like it knew I'd noticed. And then it dissolved, like smoke curling into the air. I've seen them more and more since then, at the edges of my vision, slipping away before I can get a good look. They're not human, but they're here, watching, waiting. People are disappearing, not just dying, God knows we've all seen enough of that, but vanishing, without a trace. It started with the wanderers, the drifters who don't stay in one place for long. People figured they just got lost or ran into trouble with bandits, but then it started happening in the settlements. Small groups, families even, just gone. No signs of struggle, no bodies, nothing. It's like they were plucked out of existence. I spoke to someone who saw it happen, or at least part of it. A man named Jacob, one of the few left in the Midwest. He told me he was out scavenging when he heard a strange noise, like static but layered, almost musical. When he turned the corner, the people he'd been traveling with were just gone. Their supplies were still there, their footprints fresh in the dirt, but they weren't. And then he saw something. He called it a flash, a shimmer in the air like heat rising off pavement, and then it was gone too. Survivors, I don't know how else to say this, but I think we're being watched. Not just by each other, not just by whatever mutated horrors the bombs unleashed, but by something else. Something not of this earth. I know how it sounds. I do. But there's too much happening that I can't explain. The lights in the sky, the hum in the air, the shadows that don't belong, the people who vanish. It's all connected. I can feel it. And the worst part, I don't think they're just watching us. I think they're studying us, experimenting maybe, preparing for something. Because why else would they wait? Why else would they remain silent? I don't know what they are. I don't know where they came from. But I do know this. They're not here to save us. If they were, they'd have done it already. No, survivors, they're here for something else. And whatever it is, it can't be good. So keep your eyes open. Watch the skies. Pay attention to the shadows, to the sounds that don't belong. Stay vigilant, because the world might be ending, but it's not over yet. And if we're not careful, we might not live long enough to see how it all ends. This is Matthew Grayson, still here, still watching, and still talking. Stay safe, survivors, and remember, even in the silence, even in the shadows, you're not alone. Not anymore. This is Matthew Grayson, coming to you from somewhere deep in the wreckage of what we used to call civilization. If you're hearing this, it means you're still alive, still clinging to the edge of existence. Tonight we have to talk about the brink, the edge of the precipice where Earth teeters, wobbling under the weight of catastrophe, chaos, and collapse. You've felt it, haven't you? The ground beneath us is unsteady, trembling under forces we can barely comprehend. And now, it's not just nuclear fire or human madness threatening us. There's something else, something bigger. When the bombs fell, they didn't just shatter cities, they shattered the delicate machine that kept this planet running. The infrastructure, the systems, the networks we relied on for food, water, energy, gone in an instant. What's left is a patchwork of ruins, broken supply chains, and desperate people fighting over what scraps remain. But it's worse than that. The damage wasn't just physical. The psychological toll, it's like a poison spreading through what's left of humanity. I've heard the stories from survivors, communities that seemed stable, organized, falling apart overnight, leaders turning tyrant, neighbors turning on each other. All it takes is a spark, a food shortage, a disagreement over supplies, or even just paranoia, and it's all over. Law and order, justice, those concepts died alongside the first mushroom cloud. Now, it's every person for themselves, and that's tearing us apart faster than the bombs ever could. The land itself is changing. The fallout has seeped into the soil, poisoning the earth. Crops won't grow, or if they do, they come out twisted, sickly, barely edible. The animals are worse. Some are dying off completely, unable to adapt to this new, hellish world. Others, well, they've adapted too well. I've heard reports of mutated creatures out there, things that used to be deer, wolves, or even birds, but now they're something else entirely. Bigger, meaner, more dangerous. It's like the earth is fighting back, turning its creations into weapons against us. Or maybe it's just as scared as we are. And then there's the heat. The nuclear blasts did more than just destroy. They ignited massive fires that still burn in some places, consuming what little vegetation remains. The sky is thick with ash and smoke, choking out the sunlight. The days are colder, darker, and deadlier. But at night, survivors, at night the heat lingers, clinging to the ground like a restless ghost. You can feel it radiating up from the earth, as if the planet itself is trying to shed its skin, trying to rid itself of us. I walked through one of the burned out zones last week. The air was so thick with ash I couldn't see more than a few feet in front of me. The ground was hot enough to blister through my boots. And the smell of charred earth and something else, something human, that's a scent you never forget. It sticks to you, gets into your lungs, your clothes, your mind. I couldn't shake the feeling that the earth was weeping, crying out in pain from what we've done to it. But no one's listening. It's not just the earth that's breaking, it's us. The cracks are showing, survivors. Cracks in our minds, our morals, our sense of humanity. I've seen people do things they never would have imagined before the bombs fell. Good people, decent people, turning into monsters just to survive. Hunger, desperation, fear, they change you. But what happens when there's nothing left to fight for? When survival isn't enough anymore? I spoke to a man last night, one of the last callers I'll probably get for a while. His name was Daniel, and he was holed up in an old grocery store somewhere in the Midwest. He told me he'd been trying to keep a group of survivors together, a small community, just 10 or 12 people. But it fell apart. Fights over food, over water, over who got to sleep where. One night, he woke up to find half the group gone, along with most of the supplies. The rest, well, let's just say they didn't make it. Daniel told me he wasn't sure why he even bothered calling. I guess I just wanted to hear another human voice, he said. And then he hung up. But here's the thing that's been keeping me up at night. There's something about this destruction, this chaos. It's too quiet, too planned. You'd think the world would be full of noise, screaming, gunfire, explosions. And it is sometimes. But other times, it's like the whole planet is holding its breath, waiting for something. And that silence, that unnatural calm, it's worse than any explosion. I've been picking up strange signals on the radio, frequencies that don't match any human broadcasts, static that doesn't sound like static. It's like the airwaves themselves are alive, humming with something I can't explain. And it's not just me. Other broadcasters, what few of us are left, have reported the same thing. Strange sounds, strange lights, strange feelings, like we're being watched. Survivors, the world is on the brink. Of what, I don't know. Total collapse? A new beginning? Something worse? All I know is that we're standing at the edge of something vast, something terrifying, something we can't come back from. And the scariest part? I'm not sure if we've jumped yet, or if we're still falling. Or as close to live as it gets these days. Tonight, survivors, we talk about what I've dreaded most. What I prayed I'd never have to announce. Something is here, something that doesn't belong, and I don't mean the madness of humanity or the scorched earth beneath our feet. No, I mean something far beyond our understanding. If you thought the nuclear war was the apex of our downfall, think again. We're not alone anymore. It started with the sky. You all remember that night. If you were lucky enough to have a patch of clear sky above you, without ash, smoke, or acid rain, you would have seen it too. A light, no, not light exactly. More like a rip, a tear in the fabric of the night. It started as a faint glimmer, something you might mistake for a distant star. But then it grew, bright, pulsing. I don't have the words to describe what it looked like. It wasn't just a color or a shape, it was something more. Something that felt wrong, like it didn't belong in our world. The light twisted and turned, almost like it was searching. It lit up the sky like a second sun, brighter than anything I've ever seen. And then just as quickly as it appeared, it vanished. But it didn't leave us alone. At first, people didn't know what to make of it. Some thought it was a comet, a meteor, maybe even another weapon launched by one of the nations still clinging to the scraps of power. But then the reports started coming in. Strange shapes in the sky, sounds, low, humming vibrations that made your bones ache and your teeth chatter. And then the disappearances. It wasn't just people vanishing into thin air. It was entire towns, places that had survived the worst of the war, gone, like they'd never existed. No signs of struggle, no bodies, no wreckage, just empty streets and silence. And those who were left behind, well, they weren't quite the same. I met one of them, a man named Russell. He stumbled into a safe zone about 50 miles north of here, clothes torn, face pale as a ghost. He said he'd been in one of the towns that disappeared. Said he'd seen the light up close. When I asked him what it looked like, he couldn't describe it. Just kept shaking his head and muttering, "It wasn't light. It wasn't light." But it wasn't just his words that unsettled me. It was his eyes. There was something in them. Something hollow, like a piece of him was missing. He said he'd heard voices, whispers coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. They told him things he couldn't repeat. And then he just broke, started screaming, clawing at his own skin, saying he could still feel it, still hear it. We had to sedate him. I don't know what happened to him after that, but I still hear his voice in my head whispering, "It wasn't light." The sightings grew more frequent after that. At first, they stayed in the skies, shadowy shapes that moved too fast to be planes, too erratic to be drones. But then they got bolder, closer. Survivors reported seeing them hovering over abandoned cities, over refugee camps, even over military installations. And the sounds, have you heard them? That deep, thrumming noise that seems to come from inside your own head. It's enough to drive you mad. And for some it has. I've seen one myself. It wasn't close, not close enough to make out any details. But it was big, bigger than anything man-made. And it moved like nothing I've ever seen, like it was cutting through the air itself. It didn't look real, it didn't feel real, but it was, and that's what scares me the most. And then there are the visitors, I don't know what else to call them. They're not human, that much is clear, but they're not like anything we've ever imagined either. Forget the little green men or the bug-eyed creatures from the movies. These things are different, taller than us, slimmer, with movements that seem almost liquid. And their eyes, they're like black holes, pulling you in, making you feel like you're falling forever. They don't speak, not in any way we can understand, but they communicate. Somehow they get inside your head, planting thoughts, feelings, images. It's not words, it's impressions, and it's overwhelming. People who've encountered them say it's like having your mind ripped open and laid bare. They know everything about you, your fears, your secrets, your pain, and they use it against you. Not all of them are the same, though. There's a divide, a split in their ranks. I don't know the details, but I've heard enough to piece together that there's a conflict among them. Some of them seem curious, almost benign, but others, they're not here to observe. They're here to conquer, to destroy, to feed. And they're the ones we need to fear the most. Survivors, this is it. This is the moment we've all feared. The tipping point. The world was already on the brink, and now it feels like we've been shoved over the edge. I don't know what they want, why they're here, or how long they'll stay. All I know is that we're not alone anymore. And whatever comes next, we're not ready for it. Stay vigilant, survivors. Keep your eyes on the skies and your ears on the ground. And whatever you do, don't trust the light. This is Matthew Grayson. Survivors. I've seen chaos. I've seen cities burn and lives end in a flash of nuclear fire. I've heard the cries of the desperate, the hopeless. But what I'm about to tell you, it's something else entirely. It's not chaos. It's not desperation. It's cold, calculated horror, delivered by beings who don't share our world, our morality, or even our understanding of life. If you thought humans were cruel to one another, you haven't seen what these visitors are capable of. At first, they didn't touch us. They hovered, they observed, and they stayed out of reach. We thought, hell, I hoped, they were just watching, that they were here to learn or study, maybe even help us. But that hope didn't last long. It started with small things, subtle things, animals disappearing, unmarked carcasses found in the woods, drained of blood or missing internal organs, but with no sign of how it was done. Then it moved to people. I heard about it from a group of travelers passing through the station. A camp, one of the few places left where people still huddled together for safety, was wiped out overnight. There were no signs of struggle, no blood, no bodies, just empty tents, smoldering fires, and a silence that chilled them to the bone. The only thing they found was a symbol burned into the ground, something no one could recognize. It wasn't human, it wasn't ours. And then survivors, there was the town of Green Valley. I don't know if you've heard of it. It wasn't much, just a small farming community that had managed to stay off the radar during the worst of the war. They had food, water, and even a crude radio setup to keep in touch with other survivors. But all of that changed when the lights came. They described it as a fog, thick, glowing, and humming with an energy that made your skin crawl. It rolled into the town in the dead of night, swallowing everything in its path. By morning, Green Valley was gone. Not destroyed, not burned, gone. Every building, every tree, every living thing erased like it had never existed. And in its place, the ground was smooth, glass-like, as if the earth itself had been cauterized. Whatever did that, it wasn't from this world. But that's not the worst of it. No survivors, it gets darker. Some people didn't vanish. Some people were taken. They call them the taken now. The ones who were dragged away by these things. Some of them come back, but they're not the same. I spoke to one, a woman named Clara. She'd been missing for 3 weeks before she wandered into a safe zone, barefoot and covered in ash. She didn't remember where she'd been or how she'd gotten there. But she remembered the pain. She said they did things to her, opened her up without cutting, poked and prodded inside her mind. She said she could feel them, their thoughts, their hunger. And then there was the boy, just 12 years old. He was found outside a camp, curled into a ball and muttering to himself. His skin was covered in strange, intricate marks that glowed faintly in the dark. He couldn't speak, not anymore. Whatever they did to him, it took his voice, it took his humanity, and we still don't know why. Not all of them are the same, though. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. There's a divide among these beings. Some of them are curious, even passive, but the others, the rogue ones, they're the monsters in this story. They don't observe. They act, and their actions are unspeakable. There was an attack on a convoy just outside the city. Survivors trying to move supplies from one zone to another. They were ambushed, not by raiders or soldiers, but by something else. The witnesses said it was like the air itself turned against them. Vehicles were ripped apart as if by invisible hands. People were pulled into the sky screaming, only to vanish into the clouds. And those who survived, well, they wish they hadn't. You've heard the stories, the strange, mutilated bodies found hanging in the trees, arranged in patterns we can't understand. The whispers that follow you in the dark, even when you're alone. The lights that lure you in, promising safety, only to lead you to whatever it is they're hiding out there. These aren't just tales, survivors. They're warnings. I spoke to a soldier who witnessed one of their atrocities firsthand. His unit was stationed near what used to be the outskirts of Chicago. They'd set up a perimeter, fortified it, thought they were safe, and then the fog came. He said it wasn't like normal fog. It moved against the wind, swirled around their defenses like it was alive. And then it started to scream. Not a single voice, but 1,000 all at once. They fired their weapons, but it didn't matter. The fog didn't just kill them, it consumed them. When it cleared, there was nothing left, but their shadows burned into the ground. Survivors were facing something far worse than war or famine or disease. These beings, these invaders, they don't just want our resources or our land. They want us. They're studying us, experimenting on us, and in some cases erasing us entirely. And the worst part is, we don't know why. We don't know what they want, or if they even want anything at all. Maybe this is just sport for them, a game. Or maybe we're nothing more than insects to them, something to be squashed and discarded. But I'll tell you this, we're not giving up, not yet. Not while there's still breath in my lungs and power in this transmitter. We've survived the bombs, we've survived the fallout, and we'll survive this too. Stay strong, survivors. Stay hidden, and whatever you do, don't let them take you. This is Matthew Grayson. Survivors, I know the past few days have been heavy, hearing about the atrocities, the destruction, the unimaginable horror brought upon us by these beings from the stars. But tonight, I want to tell you something that doesn't fit the narrative of unrelenting terror. You might not believe me. Hell, I barely believe it myself. But I've heard whispers, seen evidence, and pieced together stories that hint at something unexpected. Among the chaos and cruelty, there's a figure who stands apart. A leader. An alien captain, though calling him a captain feels almost too human. It's clear he commands their forces, but he's different. Survivors, if you're still with me, let me tell you about this being who could be our only hope, or our ultimate doom. It started with reports from survivors in the South, a small group hiding in the mountains near what used to be Atlanta. They said they saw a craft land nearby, unlike the massive vessels we've grown to fear. This one was smaller, sleeker, and it didn't unleash chaos like the others. No, it just sat there, silent and still, as if it was watching. And then he appeared. They described him as tall, humanoid, but undeniably alien. His skin had a faint shimmer like liquid metal reflecting the moonlight, and his eyes, they weren't just eyes. They were like windows into something vast and unknowable, glowing faintly with an otherworldly blue light. He wasn't armed, at least not visibly, but his presence alone was enough to freeze them in place, like prey caught in the gaze of a predator. He didn't attack them. He didn't even move toward them. He just stood there as if weighing his options. And then, in a voice that wasn't a voice, something they felt in their minds rather than heard with their ears, he said, "This was not my choice. Who is this alien captain? What is his role in this nightmare?" Survivors, I don't have all the answers, but here's what I've gathered. He's not like the others. He's not one of the rogues, those sadistic monsters who seem to take pleasure in our suffering. He's a commander, yes, but he's also conflicted. I've intercepted fragments of their communications. Don't ask me how, it's too risky to explain. And I've pieced together enough to understand that he's in charge of their fleet, but his authority isn't absolute. There are factions among them, just like there are factions among us. And it seems this captain is walking a razor's edge between maintaining control and being overthrown by his own kind. Now, before you get your hopes up, let me make one thing clear. This captain is not our friend. He's not here to save us or stop the war. But from what I can tell, he's not here to destroy us either. Not completely. Curious, maybe even regretful. I don't know what drove him to lead this invasion, but there's something in him that sets him apart from the others. Something almost human. I've heard stories of him intervening in rogue attacks, not to save lives, but to stop unnecessary destruction. In one instance, a group of survivors was cornered by rogue aliens in the ruins of an old factory. Just when all hope seemed lost, the rogues were forced to retreat. The survivors didn't know why at first, but then they saw him, the captain, standing on a nearby hill, his glowing eyes fixed on the scene. He didn't speak, didn't make a sound. He just stared, and then he was gone. There's more survivors. There's something else, something that might explain his behavior, his hesitation. It's called the artifact. I don't know what it is or where it came from, but it's something the aliens brought with them. It's said to be ancient, older than our planet, older than their civilization. And from what I've heard, the captain is obsessed with it. He keeps it close, guarding it like it holds the answers to the universe itself. Some say it's a weapon, others think it's a tool for communication or travel. But whatever it is, it's important enough to divide their ranks and make even the most ruthless rogues pause. I've been thinking, survivors, what if the captain didn't want this war? What if he's here because of that artifact? Maybe he was sent to retrieve it, and the destruction we've seen is just collateral damage. Or maybe the artifact is why the rogues are here at all. Maybe they're the ones who want to use it, and the captain is the only thing standing in their way. But here's the thing, if the captain's control slips, if the rogues take over, we're done. Whatever fragile balance exists among their ranks will shatter, and the atrocities we've seen so far will be nothing compared to what comes next. The artifact could become their ultimate weapon, or it could be the key to their downfall. I don't know, but I do know this. We can't afford to ignore the captain. He's a piece of this puzzle, a big one, and if we can figure him out, we might just stand a chance. Before I sign off tonight, I want to leave you with something. A message I intercepted earlier today. It's brief, cryptic, and unsettling. I don't know who it's meant for or what it means, but it came from the captain's ship. The artifact calls, the balance must be preserved. Humanity must decide. Survivors, I don't know what decision they're talking about, but I do know one thing. The captain is watching us. He's waiting for something. And whatever it is, it could change everything. Stay safe, stay strong, and remember, you're not alone. This is Matthew Grayson, signing off.